Welcome back to the Mintner Method. I'm your host, Andrew Mintner, and on today's video, we are going to break down the matchup between Washington and Iowa. Now, I know you're probably like, is this guy like fucking from Washington? Is he a Washington alum? Like, it's every week this guy's breaking down this team. And I know, it feels that way, but that's not the case. I'm just actually, they fit the mold for teams that I want to target because they're just elite on early downs on both sides of the ball. And I feel like also, even though they lost their entire coaching staff and Michael Penix and Roma Dunze and Jalen Polk and Jalen McMillan and all those guys, like Jed Fish coming from Arizona with Will Rogers, like they're offensively, they are like solid, and they've played well defensively on top of that. I think this is a matchup that it's a matchup that, I think they can really take, if they can schematically take advantage of Iowa's weakness, they really know, will be able to flourish here. Now, as you're looking at the baseline here, you can tell that Washington is, they're very good when it comes to passing the ball on early downs and solid at rushing it. They're 18th overall on that rank. And then on defensive side of the ball, they're very good at both. They're elite 7th overall in early down EPA. Now, Iowa, even though they brought in a new coordinator, and I felt like, this offense is going to have more nuance to it, more motion, more play action. That hasn't translated to really anything whatsoever. And I just, there's really not really much you can say about it. And their defense hasn't been a juggernaut like it has in the past. And I think that's kind of been shown in numerous games already. Now, as we look at the early downs stuff when we're looking at overall, you can see Iowa has obviously struggled against Power 5 teams offensively. They've struggled against everybody pretty much. And Washington, has done well against Power 5 teams. And then looking at, the defensive side of the ball, if I can spell and find I. There it is. God bless, Andrew. Their defense has done actually pretty decent right there. And then Washington has been elite also defensively. So this really, for me, we're going to look at the advanced statistics, and you're going to see kind of what it comes down to in general, okay? Washington is not explosive. I need you to understand that. This is not last year's team, who also, mind you, was not that explosive, okay? So they are very efficient, though, and the reason they are so efficient is, and you will see later, is essentially where they throw the ball. Now, Iowa's defense is solid in certain areas. Now, Washington's offensive line is probably their best, part of them. 7th in offensive line yards, 6th in stuff rate. Front 7 havoc allowed is pretty okay. And this is kind of where Iowa is lacking, right? Normally, you would see an Iowa front 7 that's pretty dominant. It's not the case this year. They just don't have the returning production, and they just have not produced up to the levels that they normally would have. Now, one thing that you're going to see here is there is a gigantic advantage to be taken advantage of in the passing attack. But I don't know if Washington's going to be able to do that or not. 109th in passing explosiveness allowed, 107th in offensive passing explosiveness. Now, when we go down to the defensive side of the ball, Iowa is atrocious offensively. And I don't really think anybody – there is no metric or eye test that you could say that's like, oh, no, you're missing something here. They're bad. They're just objectively bad, right? So the thing, though, that is a little concerning for Washington is they're going to be defending the run. That is what Iowa's going to try to do. It's going to be run, and try to control the clock. 118th in stuff rate and 96th in front 7th havoc rate. So that is very concerning to me. But as we will look, they did just play Michigan, who is a better version of the same style. Excuse me. Now, whenever they go to pass the ball, they will have no success probably. I'm just being real here. As you can see, first in pass efficiency and sixth in passing explosiveness allowed. So when we go to the passing profiles and the depth, we don't really need to look at Iowa. I mean, that's not being mean. They just are not any good. And that's not where this game is going to be decided, in my opinion. Washington is where the game will be decided, okay? They like to throw the ball within 1 to 9 yards. That is 48% of all their passes are within 1 to 9 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's their short yard percentage. And they're okay. They're 51st at that, but that is where they live, okay? They do throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage a little bit, and they're pretty good at it, okay? But where they should be attacking is one other thing, okay? So they're actually really solid down the field, okay? But they do not attempt these types of passes. They only attempt them 30% of the time. Firstly, they're 99th in deep percentage, 10.9% of the time, but they're 11th in EPA, along with medium attempts, 31st, okay? So they are really good down the field, okay? Now, when we look at Iowa on the defensive side, this is where the rubber is going to meet the road. They are elite in the 1 to 9 yard range. They're 8th overall in these Mickey Mouse type throws, 16th in short, 17th in behind the line of scrimmage. That is where they excel as a defense, okay? Where they don't excel as a defense is down the field. Dead last in passes over 20 yards, 134th. So any attempt over 20 yards has an expected points of 1.7 points. Like just the attempt, that's like kind of what is mind-boggling about this, right? So it stands to say that Washington needs to ratchet up the down the field throws. Okay? So we're going to circle back and we need to look at last week's game, okay, where they beat Michigan, who is a physical team, which is a better version of what Iowa kind of tries to do, right? So Michigan did run the ball a ton, 37 attempts, and they averaged 4.7 yards per attempt. But again, that was not enough, okay? And when we look at the passing log, this is what you can expect. 113 passing yards, 4.5 yards per attempt. This is the thing. Iowa is going to have to run the ball better than Michigan did, and they're going to have to throw the ball comparably as well, which they're not as good at throwing the ball as Michigan, who is not even that good in the first place. So when I look at it from that perspective, I feel like, Iowa is going to have to produce an Iowa-like game. And I know this is just like a hilarious sentence to say, but they are the best at producing those type of games because, that's just who they are, right? But the thing is, I don't know if they're going to be able to produce that type of game against Washington. Washington is just, better overall in general from the skill positions, and we know that. And I like Jed Fish and his coaching staff, and I think they understand what they need to do to win, right? And the reason I say this is because they're coming off, when they came off two horrendous losses, okay? The loss to Washington State is almost unexcusable simply because of how many opportunities they had. And then the last play of the game, running a speed option with Will Rogers, is just stupid. There's no other way to put it. What do? They come out next week against Northwestern and dominate. Northwestern is a lot like Iowa, okay? Then what happens? They go on the road to play Rutgers, a physical team, in a game that they should have won. They had like 7 opportunities, an insane amount, right? And then what happens? They adjust, they come out, and they play Michigan, okay? And they play them exactly how they should have. In my opinion, They are going to ratchet up the down the field throws, and they are going to take advantage of this Iowa team where they have the advantage. And in reality, I think they just, I'm leaning into all the other things that check the box. Okay, Washington is just a better team overall. They're better on early downs. They're better in the areas that, they have it strengths on weaknesses. And Iowa's going to have like a turnover-ridden game that's ugly, that's sloppy, and even then, that doesn't guarantee they're going to win that game. They did that against Iowa State and still lost. So for the third week in a row, we're going to be on Washington, okay? And so I'm going to have they're plus 2.5 now. You could probably, if you want to take that spread, that's fine. If you want to tease them, money line them, whatever. I don't do parlays anymore. I'm trying to stay away from that as they are not profitable long term, but I understand that everybody enjoys them and that is different. So other than that, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoy the content, please subscribe, like, share the video with a friend or family, comment. I always take suggestions. Obviously it's later in the week, so I won't have time for any more videos this week. But, you can come back to the video afterwards and suggest a game for next week. On the earlier videos in the Monday, Tuesday range, you can get your suggestions. And then I've done 3 or 4 so far this week. And I enjoy them. I enjoy breaking down games that normally wouldn't be in the scope of my lens, And so other than that, guys, I appreciate the support. It's a very small channel, but, I enjoy it, and I'm happy to, talk shop with you guys. So other than that, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.